Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Railway Shed. Today we'll be doing a review of my layout. I've just got the Flying Scotsman with a rake of 2 Mark 1s and some ex-LNE Artiques running. I can only really run 4 coaches behind a train without it looking weird. My layout doesn't really have a name, as I've never bothered to name it. It's always just been the layout. And Scotsman has stalled, because why wouldn't he? I'd also like to thank you all for 40 subscribers. I know it doesn't seem like much to some of you. However, for me, to think that 40 people thought, oh, I'll definitely keep watching this person, really cheers me up and really motivates me to make better quality videos for you all. So thank you. So starting off is our first of 3 stations. This one has 2 bays connecting from this side on the main line to a little siding that goes upwards this way. Nearly all the buildings on my layout are made of Metcalfe kits. You can see it has a footbridge as well. Coming out of the station is the first stretch of straight, which I've got some signals on, a little line-side hut, and a signal box to control these 3 signals. Points, I mean. These 2 provide a crossover into the other section of rail. Next up is the level crossing, which connects to the road. Next is the second station, which is the smallest of the layout. I believe it to be in sort of Great Western style, as it's got Great Western benches on it, as well as figures. This only connects to one of the inner tracks, and there's also a Metcalfe building. However, it does have a nice parking lot, as well as a garden next to it. Next to it is the only set of houses found on the layout, which has a garden that backs onto the railway line. Behind the station is a little field with Terence the tractor, as well as 2 Hornby buildings that I haven't placed anywhere, just spares. On the other side of the curve is a little forest, which I put a Hornby Annie body shell in to represent a little shed in the forest. The centre of the layout has many cars and backs onto the station with little drop-off areas. There's also a little goods building next to the main station. An addition of mine, because this layout wasn't originally built by me, is this little coach which should serve as accommodation or a shop to the railway, as I imagine my railway being a form of heritage railway, even though it's just a basic Hornby track mat that has been fitted out with buildings and such. Next is the busiest section of my layout, which is the main station. It has a lovely Great Western style signal box to control these signals, which allow trains from the inner loop to go out onto the outer loop, which is a recent addition of mine, as well as a siding to back up into the works area, which I've got a crane, a rail car, and also some boxes. It's also where the little hut for the mail train set used to go, however I lost it. The station is connected on the inner loop, as well as the track that leads inwards from the station with radius 1 curves. This little station shelter is something I built at the Great Model Railway exhibition at Alexandra Palace a few years ago. I also built this tiny footbridge or set of steps there as well. I've never painted them, however. Right now you can see I've got Edward within the first bay of my platform. Here's the works area in a bit more detail. It has a single track which passes through here. A while ago, the layout used to be pushed up against the wall, as you can see by the mark there, and I used to have an extension that would run round and connect up here as a sort of branch line from the layout. Along the side from the station, I've got some rocks as well as an old tanker which I've split up and used as a little oiling plant for diesel engines. There's also a broken up truck with some rocks in it. Now let's just take a look round the shed. Here we've got a Hornby poster with all their locomotives on from a range from I believe about 2010 or 11, which I got in my first train set, which was one of the Thomas ones. Here was a list I made about a year ago detailing all my engines and which ones were working or not. There's a instruction manual from the newly reviewed Hornby's Dindon locomotive. There's a poster or canvas of some of the Hornby Thomas engines. Over here is sort of my Flying Scotsman kind of corner. Sorry for the flashing, it's my light. Yeah, I got the bottom poster when I went on the Flying Scotsman. They're actually just metal sheets, sort of like metallic signs. But yeah, I got it in the gift shop when I went on the Flying Scotsman back in 2021, I believe. Over there is a nice painting I bought from the Epping Ongar Railway a few times ago when I visited, which I thought was a lovely painting of a Black 5, so I picked it up. I think it only cost me about £5. And then we've got the classic Beware of the Trains metallic sheet up over the thing. All the blue tack up there used to hold up some bunting, but it fell down. This is the same series as one of my Flying Scotsman ones, but it's the Mallard. I think it's a rather nice little sign. Here is actually rather interesting, as it's a picture of the Mallard I took when I visited the National Railway Museum back in 2018. I got it blown up and put on a canvas in black and white, and I think it's one of my favourite pictures I've ever taken. Next up are some of the smaller posters I've got, which I printed out at a local shop. If you didn't know, I was fascinated as well by ocean liners, so I really like this one with the Cunard White Star London North Eastern Railway poster, which has an A1 as well as a ship behind it, or an ocean liner. Here's another metal sign I picked up at the National Railway Museum. I just thought the text was rather amusing. Up there is a British Railways plaque I bought at the railway I volunteer at, which is the North Wealdon District Miniature Railway. I would definitely recommend a visit. Here's another one of those posters I printed out, which is an Olympic Titanic one from the White Star Line. I just thought this was rather nice, and it sort of made this even. Here are some locomotive blueprints I also bought at the Epping Ongar, which were just like £2 or £3 each. You've got a North Eastern Railway engine, which is preserved at the National Railway Museum. A London and North Western Railway one. Behind there you've got a Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway engine, as well as behind Gordon a Gladstone one, which is another engine preserved at the NRM. Up there's another metal sheet sign that I got from the NWDMR, I've yet to put it up, so it just sort of stays up here. Here's sort of the area I keep all my engines. I've changed it a bit to keep my engines in boxes as the winter's coming, and of course it's in a shed. It gets rather cold and damp in here, so I don't want to get them all messed up, so they're in their boxes. These engines, however, are either just out for running or can't find the boxes to, or just came in train sets, which is just a bit hard for me to put in boxes. There's still reviews of the '08 shunter on the way, as well as the 4P tank engine. I just wanted to take a break briefly from making review videos and sort of give you an update on the shed. Down here's sort of where I film the reviews. As such, I've got a couple Ertl Thomas items. These are my 00 gauge and HO Thomases. I've got my original one from 2008, which was the first model engine I ever had. The 2016 Hornby Range one, which is just something I picked up. And then the Bachmann UK one, which I got last year at the Festival of Model Railwaying in London. You've probably seen this before. This is where I film my sort of reviews and sort of videos. I've got a lovely picture of Dolgok there, which I would say is my favourite engine, as well as some cheap old Flying Scotsman in a schools class, little podium things that I believe came from a magazine set. Here's where I sort of store my coaches. They're a bit higgledy-pickledy, but it does the job. In the first one I've got my sets of Mark 1s, which a couple are from a magazine and the other from the Hogwarts Express train set. Then I've got my Blood and Custard Triangle Lima coaches, I believe. We've got a couple Great Western coaches I brought in a bundle. They're a bit worse for wear, but you know, nice coaches. Then you've got some LNE Arctiques, which I got in the Flying Scotsman train set, which was one of my first model railway things in general. I've got 4 of those. Then I've got some Clerestory coaches in the LMS livery, which I picked up this year from the Alexandra Palace Model Railway Festival. Under that I've got a wooden Thomas for some reason, as well as my rail car transporters. Then I've got a couple more Mark 1s which I picked up recently, as well as some LNER Blood and Cream coaches, which sort of goes along with them. It's a little dark, but down here is where I keep my wagons. In here we have some tankers and some cattle vans. Then I have my open wagons, my vans, and over there my brake vans. A bit scattered, but you know, they do the job. So yeah, thanks for watching. I really appreciate the 40 subscribers. It really means a lot, and I hope to only go up from here. I've got some videos in the work, but I'm not too sure how I'm going to make them at the moment, so you know, we'll see what happens. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.